You are listening to Peak One Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sports Page Radio, or the Sports Page, on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton with Dan. Had to record a weird time today, so Chris was not able to make it again. But thank you for tuning in anyways. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app. And this episode is brought to you by Betalytics. Do not bet with your guts. Check out Betalytics to get help making your picks. Use their AI algorithms. Using their AI algorithms. Use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off when you sign up today. Go to Betalytics.com to start betting smarter. Dan, thank you for being able to get this weird schedule. Yeah, it's been crazy on my end. I'm glad we were able to get a show in this week.
No worries.
Yeah, I know the Bungalow Sports group of shows are having technical difficulties at the moment, so they're not posting shows at the moment. So I thought it was very important we got a Sports Page episode out this week. But now that we're getting closer to the Super Bowl, we can talk more about our Peak One Big Game pregame show on Sunday. That will be live on our YouTube channel from 3:30 to 4:30, leading up to the pregame festivities up to the Super Bowl. So a couple hours before the game. And Dan, myself will be on there. All of our contributors on the Peak One Sports Network will be on at some point, so make sure you don't miss it. Dan, what are your thoughts on this? I think this is the first big collaborative Peak One thing we've done where everybody's involved.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited actually. I think it kind of gives us all a chance to, more or less theoretically be in like the same place at the same time and be able to kind of reach out to all of our fans and viewers, everybody all at the same time from all the different shows. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be real interesting. I got a good chunk of stuff to talk about with the Kansas City Chiefs and their sixth Super Bowl appearance, I believe it is, franchise history. So, it's gonna be an exciting day. I love Super Bowl Sunday. I think it's an American holiday, to be honest.
Yeah,
we ought to get Monday off, but
on that point,
I'm excited.
I know the technicality of it, but people say, we'll write their senators, whatever you do to politically to get things done, saying they should make the Monday after a national holiday. All that's going to do is give the banks and post office the day off anyways. I mean, let's be real. We all don't get national holidays off because there's so many of them.
Oh, for sure.
Kids might be out of school and, but yeah, I always have that thing when people
I'm sure
bring
plenty of greedy corporations will also stay open.
Yeah.
The same way, but I think I just want it observed.
Exactly. Yeah. Just observe that, hey, we don't have to be here. I'm hungover and I partied hard.
Right.
But I'm here for the company, right? Yeah, it's going to be a fun, big crossover. Not quite as exciting as the Avengers, but there's a lot of people who have not ever spoken to other people in Peak One. And I think it's going to be pretty cool to have everybody on close to the same time. I mean, we'll be popping people on and off, but for the most part, we'll be seeing and talking to people that you don't usually talk to.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited.
Now, Dan, I know you wanted to talk about the Pro Bowl, or not just talk about the Pro Bowl, talk about what the Pro Bowl is now lacking. Because this year's Pro Bowl had a combined rating of 3.1 and 5.79 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, Disney XD, and ESPN Deportes. So 4 different platforms for people to watch and 5.79 million viewers.
Yeah, not from a lack of accessibility or anything to the viewer. It just, honestly, watching the whole thing felt like watching a business retreat,
Yeah.
employees doing team building exercises. It wasn't interesting. I'm sure it was fun for the guys on the field. It looked like they were having a pretty good time, and it livened the game up for them. And in all honesty, maybe like being there in person, it also like felt more exciting or anything to watch. But I mean, to be completely honest, I feel like I've thought for years, to be honest, that the Pro Bowl was kind of an unnecessary
Yeah.
evil. It just it doesn't really have any like real watch value to it. There's like nothing on the line. Like the NFC won this year. What does that mean? Like you don't get anything for it. And in all
Yeah.
honesty, with the way the format and everything for the Pro Bowl kind of always has been, I would almost rather see them do kind of a pickup style, pick 'em type game where it's like, you pick a guy, and
Yeah. And
play the game that
I think
way
they've done it that
versus like
before.
AFC versus NFC.
This is
I
the
think they
first
have.
year. This is the first year they've gone back to the AFC NFC platform.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it
I would
seems
rather
since
see
they've done
that
like
though.
the Pro Bowl games and the flag football competition and dodgeball and all that, that maybe back in the day, NFC AFC made more sense when you're playing a full on game. But I mean, now it's just out of whack. And not that it's not necessarily entertaining to watch a flag football game from, it's kind of like backyard football, but I think they're just doing it too. And I think the transition we've seen where they're getting rid of tackling, they're getting rid of kickoffs, they're doing all this, like they might as well make it a tag football game, then they go to flag football. I think if you had just stopped and say, let's just go to flag football, I think it'd have been a little cooler. Whereas now flag football kind of, it's like, man, this kind of sucks because we knew they were getting softer and softer every year. And I think the transition that they've done just makes it like it's stupid that's flag football game. In general, that's not like a bad idea. The Pro Bowl games is kind of dumb. I think they're trying to get too cute, like do NBA All-Star weekend type stuff. And not that that gets huge ratings, but I mean, honestly, out of all the Pro Bowl, or I mean, all the major All-Star sports, All-Star game sports, I mean, NBA weekend's kind of the best, right?
Oh, I totally agree. And the thing is too is like I like seeing some of the skills type stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm being completely honest, like I don't know how much of it you actually saw or anything, or like if you caught any highlights, but
CD
they
Lamb
even
in the
did like a
dodgeball
like
game,
a
that was
long
about it.
like they did like a long snap competition, where really the main one that I had caught was Travis, or not Travis Kelsey, Jason
Yeah.
Kelsey went up, and the goal was to long snap about 10 yards, the
I did
ball
see a
through a
video of
hole
this. Yeah.
in the wall, and I was like, man, do you know how difficult that is? And it was like Kelsey only tried to snap for the center 5 hole. There were a couple that were like off center and things like that, which I felt like I didn't necessarily understand because there aren't a whole lot of like play styles or anything where you're going to snap like that far to the left or right or something. So it didn't seem like terribly practical, and it just didn't. To be honest, it wasn't even all that necessarily like fun to watch while he was like doing it, because I mean
Yeah.
he sat there and snapped balls for 60 seconds. He made one, and I mean I like Jason Kelsey, and like but
Yeah.
and it was the same thing with like the long throw that some of the quarterbacks were doing. They were
Yeah.
trying to like drop the ball in the bucket, but it was like nobody could do it. And it's like honestly, if we're doing this, I want to see skills that guys can do, not skills they can't do. You know what I mean? Same thing in like the NHL, when they do their All Star, the trick shots or whatever it is on the targets in the corners. Man, when I watch a guy like hit all 4 or 5 of those targets in 4 or 5 shots, I'm like, damn, that took some skill. It feels like when I watch a quarterback long bomb a ball toward a bucket that he can't make it into, it doesn't feel very
Yeah.
skillful.
Yeah. I mean, even though they're getting it infinitely closer than, your average person could,
Sure.
but exactly, they're not making it. So it's like watching a half court shooting contest. Like, if you make 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, that's really impressive, but you're missing most of them, maybe unless you're
Right.
Steph Curry. But so
Right.
again, the the flag football aspect of it's not terrible if you have that as like the game, because it's
I don't
hard to
mind the
do.
flag football either.
Yeah, because
It
a
helps take some of
basketball
the injury aspect out of the game too.
exactly, and it's like a basketball game. You can have a real basketball game because there's not much. You're just toning down the effort. Baseball game, same thing. Football, you can't. But I think they should do a better job of building towards. Do like, I mean, the equivalent of like a dunk contest would be get Dak and CeeDee Lamb or just whatever quarterback and CeeDee Lamb to do the craziest possible catches or something like that. Like you'd have to put
Yeah.
something in there to make it, you know, a little more entertaining to watch. But would you rather watch Jason Kelsey try to snap a ball in a hole or watch a quarterback throw a ball to a bucket, or would you like to see these crazy catches? Like do it like whatever that cushion's called when, you know, high jumpers land on. Do that, and maybe they have done something like
Yeah.
this. I don't know, but
I remember them doing something like that a few years back, where it was. I mean, it was kind of like what you were saying. I can't remember if it was like them trying to do like a stunt catch and land
yeah,
on a pad, or if they were like trying to jump for height and grab a ball or something like that.
well, I would
But
like put
but
put a
that's what I'm saying.
defender in there.
It's
Put a
it's such a
defender in there, and
weird
they have to one catch the ball and
slam ball
land with it,
style.
like make a catch, and that's it. Like in a dunk contest, if you miss the dunk, you don't get any points. You have to make, so
Yeah,
you get like 3 attempts. The defender tries to stop them, which isn't gonna, I don't think, hurt anybody. I mean, he's not diving with him. I would say once he dives, let it go, but make it difficult for him to catch, and then have judges to rate the catches, something like that. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe people wouldn't watch
I
it,
don't
but
know. I mean, I feel like they took a good shot at trying to like make the Pro Bowl a little more entertaining this year by like,
yeah,
putting in the extra aspects. I mean, they made it flag football, and then they also added in, like the obstacle course and the other
dodgeball.
things to get all the different points for your team that helped result in the end final score. But I don't know. It felt like a business retreat. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it was for like fan watching. I don't know. It it just didn't feel very entertaining. I wish I
Yeah.
had more constructive criticism to give them, like,
And,
oh, this is how it would be better,
and
but
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know, it
like
was lacking.
compare this. I say success of NBA All Star Weekend. I mean, it draws good ratings, I feel. And nobody ever really complains that much about it, but like it's such an individual game, basketball, where you take the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, because those are parts of the game. And then you play basically an exhibition game, but then I mean you just play lax defense, and you see all these all stars how good they can, Um, and I don't know, it felt like maybe you got that a little bit with the before they stopped the tackling and then all the stuff they were taking away, which I get for injury purposes, but I still think the Pro Bowl was kind of lackluster. Like take it back to Hawaii, that would be kind of cool. I don't know, that may
Yeah.
go stick towards your business retreat point a little more than where is it, like Orlando, or maybe like I know they did it a couple of years, go to wherever the Super Bowl's happening, have the Pro Bowl there too. I think you might get a little,
Yeah.
just because of all the stupid events that are happening anyways, why not just throw the Pro Bowl in there? I guess it depends where. I mean, in Vegas, why wouldn't you have the Pro Bowl in Vegas? Because it depends where
Honestly,
the
I
Super
totally
Bowl
agree
is.
with that. I would think that having the Pro Bowl almost like even like midweek or maybe even on like Thursday before the Super Bowl
That might, because
would,
I
would be like a
completely
great way to
forgot about
kick
the Pro Bowl.
off
That's why I
the
didn't watch it, because just random Sunday. But yeah, do like prime time on Thursday, Friday, whatever before the
right
Super Bowl.
instead, because there's no reason it has to be on Sunday or anything. And I mean, they could have contracts that whatever. But I'm just saying, like it seems like that would be a more entertaining way to kind of kick off the Super Bowl, and you kick it off with the Pro Bowl and the skills games and whatever on Thursday, Friday,
Yeah,
Saturday, and
and part of it was definitely moving the Super Bowl back. I mean, the Pro Bowl back before the Super Bowl,
yeah,
because they had people like seasons over. Why are you going? You had people opting out. But when you moved it behind the Super Bowl, you had no option of anybody who's in the Super Bowl playing in the Pro Bowl. And I don't know how it was, 80s and 90s, if people who were playing in the Super Bowl still went to the Pro Bowl. and still
I
played.
think
I
they
don't know.
did back in the
Yeah, I
day.
mean back before
Yeah,
we started getting so soft, but
Mike Webster days and
yeah, and it's there, and it's been cheapened to be a Pro Bowler now because you have expanded rosters, you have guys opting out for injury, and everybody's making the Pro Bowl nowadays. And then when you opt out of the Pro Bowl, you still like Dak Prescott's not playing in the Pro Bowl. He earned it this
I
year,
wouldn't either.
but he's not playing in the Pro Bowl. He is a Pro Bowler, but then I think Baker Mayfield took his spot. So you're having a lot of Pro Bowlers, whether they play or not. So I think one, it's not as like being an NBA All Star. I feel means so much more than being a Pro Bowler. And
Oh man, I
obviously
thought I was gonna say
the roster in the NFL is much bigger. You need more people to fill out a
right.
football team than a basketball. But it just seems so cheap, and I think there's just always something to criticize about the Pro Bowl. You're expecting it. I don't know, but maybe do something. I know
Yeah.
you can't do this because it's the Super Bowl's thing, and you would even cheapen that, and maybe I don't know, but like funny commercials, like a lot of people just watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials. They don't care about football. You need
Yeah.
something like that with the Pro Bowl if you want the ratings to go up. Because I'm sure if I sat down and watched a flag football game, it wouldn't. I really don't think it was that unentertaining. It would probably be pretty fun. Like
No,
if I
the
had
flag
nothing better
football
to
game
do.
wasn't the bad part of the game. And in all honesty, watching the boys play flag football is fine. I mean,
Yeah,
like it's fun, it was honestly it was everything else. It
everything
was the
else, yeah.
obstacle course. It was the
And I think
the
in our
team
mind,
sled. Like,
we think so negatively of the Pro Bowl now. It's just always something to
it's
criticize.
very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's mainly what it is.
Because honestly, off the top of my head too, I like it's not like I can ever really think of like, oh, that was an incredible Pro Bowl. Like, oh, what an unmissable Pro Bowl. I've never experienced that. I've never
Yeah.
heard that. I've never heard anybody be like, oh, did you catch the Pro Bowl this weekend?
Yeah.
It's like,
And go back to NBA All Star, there are times when you're like, if you miss the dunk contest or miss the 3-point contest or
right, yeah,
even
like
miss
did you,
part
oh
of the
man,
actual All
yeah,
Star game, sometimes they're like, oh, this is, there's stuff you can go back and watch. But the only thing I
or
can
even in
remember
baseball,
is,
it's like oh who
yeah,
won, because they get home field advantage for the World Series. At least there's like something on the line. There's like something like a reason to at least find out what the results were or something like that.
yeah.
And like you're saying too,
And,
like in the NBA, there's like the highlight reel at least of like the dunk contest. Like,
and I can think if I
I mean,
don't finish watching
people
it,
still talk about Vince
because it's
Carter,
like
like,
Sunday night or Monday night or whatever when the All Star game, I guess it's Sunday night, but if I don't stay up and watch it, I'll look the next day on my phone like who won. Like I'm just kind of curious. It's not a big deal who
right,
won, but I mean, like I said, it was like Team Dion and Team Randy Moss. Not this year, but the past years
right.
there were guys that they would do the draft, and now it went back to AFC NFC. It's like I can't even keep up with how they're doing these. They're changing so much, and I get NBA has done that. They've gone with like the is it World versus US now for the Young
US, yeah, I
Stars
think,
Challenge. It
yeah.
used to be rookies versus sophomores, but they add little stuff like that. But it's always East versus West, and people have a chance. You can actually go vote. And I know you could vote for Pro Bowlers too, but there's so damn many of them. You don't. It's like, yeah, you just go vote for Luka or go vote for LeBron or whoever, and the same with MLB All Star because
Yeah.
you can go on there
I
and
mean, I
vote.
think it's easier too for basketball to add some of that kind of gimmicky type stuff.
Mm,
I don't know if you saw, but they just recently showed like a interactive type floor that they were going to use for the All Star game this year, I believe. And honestly, I think it's really cool. I don't want to see it in every game,
yeah,
but it
of
would be
course.
cool to see that interactive floor for like the All Star game or something like that, or
Well,
maybe
like and
even make
even
it like a little video game style where you can make like a spot where you get an
yeah,
extra point. It's like if you shoot from here or whatever,
yeah,
like you get that would be cool, but it's easier to do that kind of stuff with basketball than it is to do like with, football.
yeah. And I didn't watch it, so they may have implemented this, but like in baseball, they were picking a player and giving them a mic, and the announcers were talking to him during the game. And they may have tried that.
I mean, they had some mic'd up players and everything for like the flag football game at least.
Yeah, but we're
Because
like
you could see them like
5
making the
years
play
past that
calls and
though.
whatever.
It's like
But
MLB
that's
implemented
true.
that, and it's like NFL needs to come up with their own thing. It's like they're this conglomerate. And again, I get that it's football. You can't, do the same things. Whereas NBA All-Star Game's an actual basketball game. MLB All-Star Game's an actual baseball game. But I don't know. It just seems they're lacking in creativity. They're trying, but I think they're trying too much and changing so many things up and trying too many new
Yeah,
things. It's like kind of bring it back a little bit.
right. I mean, honestly, I totally agree. I think if they were to just dial it back, and just leave it at like a flag football game,
Yeah.
just make it a flag football game. Go from
Just
there.
kind of put everything into
And
that. Yeah. To go
yeah,
watch
instead of trying
it.
to make it this big, for lack of a better term, clusterfuck of what it was this year.
Yeah, because
Like
I did
it was
see a
way too
video on the
much.
Jason Kelsey thing. I thought that was kind of cool, but I had no idea that was going to happen. The dodgeball I remember hearing about beforehand. It's like
Yeah,
nobody knew times, and they did a terrible. Maybe they didn't do a terrible job. Maybe I just kind of like I didn't listen very much because I didn't care much about it. Uh, but they should have. If they're going to have it on Sunday before the Super Bowl, do like this is this big event kicking off Super Bowl week, and have it in the same city as the Super Bowl's in.
yeah, I
Have
think
all
that's
these
a
NFL
better.
players there, and then you can see like, oh look, Patrick Mahomes is at watching the game. Like he obviously isn't playing because he's in the Super Bowl, but you'll have all these other things. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey are watching the events happening or
Yeah,
something.
right. They could be on the sideline at least, like whatever. I mean, I understand too. I'm pretty sure that they usually have it in like Hawaii and Orlando this year,
Yeah,
as just kind of like the incentive to bring players. Like go somewhere nice.
yeah.
Because I mean, as a player, you probably couldn't convince me to go to the Pro Bowl. There's no real incentive. You don't really get paid for it. The risk of injury, especially when they were playing like full pads and everything, it wasn't worth the risk. So I mean, that's honestly the biggest reason why I appreciate it being like just make it a flag football game and like a little
And you say
weekend, or
come hang out in the
kick off the
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Come the weekend
Yeah,
before. I think it would also extend Super Bowl week by a day uh,
yeah.
for people who want to come see all this stuff. Just because half the crap at the
I
Super
think we
Bowl's
got a
in
million
Dallas. Half
dollar
the
idea here.
crap, yeah, maybe. Come on, Goodell can steal it from us.
Right.
Because like half the crap,
Feel
nobody
feel free to
really
message
cares
us or
about in the
comment
Super
below.
Bowl. Yeah, comment down below, Goodell. We know you're watching.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares, but it's like it's Super Bowl week. It's the event. Let's just go. All these different exhibits and stuff like that. Like I think that'd be a cool one. But
Well, I mean, like when the Super Bowl was here, it's a week long event.
yeah,
Like it kicks off like Monday, Tuesday, when like ESPN starts showing up and doing all their stuff like on location. They're here all week. Like they're on location all week talking about
and,
field
and you
conditions
can
and
hype up some. You
practices
can
and all
hype
that.
up the Pro Bowl. I feel like by making it like the kickoff of all that.
Yes, I
You hype
agree.
up so much where if you really it kind of ruins it if you really think about it. But like there's a lot of stuff that's hyped up and you're like commercials. Like commercials are cool, whatever the Super Bowl commercials. But really, if it wasn't an event type thing, like I'm watching Super Bowl commercials with how many ever millions of other people, or the World Cup, that's probably a better example. People that don't care about soccer, like I'm gonna watch a World Cup and I get excited about it, but it's a soccer match. Like if you don't normally watch a soccer match, you're just hyped up because it's the World Cup or the Olympics.
Right.
People watch the Olympics. Hype up the Pro Bowl. Make it the kickoff to Super Bowl week. Just start that tradition. And then people will just feel like I need to, how they feel like I can't miss a commercial because it's funny commercials. And really it's like one out of every five are good. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
most of
But
them are
yeah, but
like
if
you're
you spread
trying
that
really
out
hard.
over, yeah,
And
man,
then just
I
make it a
totally
thing
agree
where
with
like,
that.
oh, I
That's a
have to
great
watch the
idea.
Pro Bowl. It's. Of Super Bowl week.
Yeah. No, that would be an incredible way to just kick it off. Like I think like I'm saying, like we were saying, like do it on like a Thursday night, and you have like
Yeah.
all the games and nonsense and whatever. And honestly, I would almost even argue like you might even be able to keep the same format where it's very party like and just fun, loose, whatever.
nonsense.
and it just kicks off your weekend. Now
And
you
you could
got
probably reach
Friday
a
to
deal maybe with the because at this point it's just NHL and NBA. Like, can we just not have games one night that Thursday? You can't do it on a Sunday. You can't tell them not to have games on
right,
Sundays. But if you did like a Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, just like, hey, the Pro Bowl is the only sport that's on. You can give it some
right, yeah,
one day to not. I mean, maybe the NFL couldn't because they're infringing on every day of the week. Now that you see the kickoff of next year is going to be in Brazil on a Friday, but that's for a future episode. We can talk about that.
yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Super Bowl though, let's move on towards the Super Bowl. You brought us a new conspiracy theory. I mean, I'm sure most everybody who's listening to this right now has heard of this, but maybe not
Oh,
everyone's
for
really
sure.
dug into it because you've really done your homework on this.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at it. The internet's kind of going crazy about it right now, so
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the viewers may have already seen this. But let us know how legit you think it is. But the Taylor Swift Kansas City is going to win because of the number 13 conspiracy.
Yeah.
All kicks off with Super Bowl 58. It's 5 plus 8.
13.
On
I'll just
February
answer
11th.
all your questions. That's what I'll do.
Right, yeah, you got this.
I got this.
February
I think I
11th,
know all the
2 plus
answers.
11. Right, yeah.
13.
That's right. For those that don't know, right, Taylor Swift's favorite number is 13. I believe she's like born on the 13th, and
Yeah,
she's got a bunch of
I don't know why, but
like weird.
I've heard that that's her favorite number. I'm not a Swiftie or anything.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm
why
not a
this is
Swiftie either,
13
but
is relevant.
yeah, this is what's going on, and this is why it's such a big
So
deal.
you said the last one was February 11th, 2/13. That's what you said, 2 and 11, 13.
Yeah, February 11th, 2/11 is 13.
Yeah.
We'll even kick off this loose one we talked about a little bit. Travis Kelce, 87, is 13 from 100. I feel like that one's a little looser.
It's a reach. I mean,
but
if you want to find something, you'll find it, but sure.
right, you'll find it, but I like the rest of these, right? So we did February 11th, Super Bowl 58. If Taylor Swift comes to the Super Bowl to watch her boyfriend play, it will be the 13th Kansas City game that she's attended. I think I heard that this is also Kelsey's 13th playoff game.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I said that, but there's something. It would be his 13th playoff win or his 13th. There's something 13 there with him and in the playoffs.
Okay, yeah. And then for her travel she has a concert in Tokyo, Japan. Her travel from Tokyo to Vegas is approximately a 13-hour flight. The 49ers, what's 4 plus 9?
13.
The 49ers were also the number 1 seed. The Kansas City Chiefs were the number 3 seed, 1-3.
13.
And I mean, if I'm being completely honest, man, it feels like you just don't bet against Taylor Swift. So all these 13s coming through here, man, I don't know if it's coincidence. I feel like if you were talking to a police officer, they'd be like, "Oh, this is too much coincidence." Like
it's definitely circumstantial, but it's what keeps the detective sniffing around,
right?
Well, I don't know, man. The Chiefs have had a really down year, and then all of a sudden they're able to pull. I think Taylor Swift might be carrying this. I don't know.
I mean, this is also a 2020 repeat of Kansas City versus 49ers.
You know what else was? You know what else was in 2020? The competition.
End of the world.
No, the 20. Well, yeah. You know what else is happening this year in 2024 as a repeat of 2020? The competition. Biden versus Trump too.
Yeah,
I guess not
Trump.
official yet. I mean, it's
also a leap year.
Also a leap year, yeah.
Yeah.
So
we got a lot of similarities.
What was Taylor Swift doing in 2020?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm not enough.
I think that's the key to all of this is see what Taylor Swift what was happening with Taylor Swift in 2020. We'll crack the code. But yeah, that's a lot of. I'm one who listens to a lot of podcasts, and there's stuff like this that happens, and you're like, they'll bring experts on, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of a cute story, but you have to be looking for stuff because, like, you can say, take a lot of stuff from the Super Bowl. It's like, that's not 13. That's not 13. That's not 13. or whatever. But I think it's a fun story. They do crap like
Oh,
this
for
with
sure.
baseball all the time, and baseball that'll get your mind if you do a lot of, like, with the whole Babe Ruth thing. I think we talked about on the show before, when the Red Sox won their first World Series in how many 108 years or whatever. What happened with Babe Ruth's house, and all kinds of stuff. It's like really really odd, and I feel like, I don't know if there's higher powers involved to make these little comparisons. I have no idea. I'm not going to say yes or no, but it's just a lot of weird stuff that happens. And if people want to believe this or not believe, I just think it's cool. I think it's fun.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
how many shirts, hats, or whatever will we see 13 at the Super Bowl?
Right. I mean,
On our
I'm with you. I think it's just a lot of fun. It's not necessarily any of those things I'm necessarily like investing a whole lot in. But
yeah
I think the kind of irony and coincidence of the whole thing is funny, and
yeah
I think it's worth like pointing out and talking about and everything. I don't necessarily think it's gonna like dictate who may or may not win the Super Bowl. And I feel confident that it'll come down to, tough gameplay. And in all honesty, I hope we see like another good, close Super Bowl like we had in 2020. Um, you know, but it's
see
it's.
I'm
I think it's always just funny to talk about, and there's a lot here. It's like, man, like a lot. So I think it's funny.
trying to count in my head. San Francisco, does that have 13 letters in it? Trying to do it in my head. I can't see. I know Kansas City does, and I've already tried that. I have to try San Francisco. That's
I think it's
close.
I think it's 12. I think it's
12.
12.
It's hard. I can't do it in my head while I'm trying to.
That would be a good one though. Like that was
But
pretty
yeah,
cool.
but a
Kansas
naysayer would
City.
be like, well, Kansas City only has 10 letters. Kansas City Chiefs is
Uh,
too many. 49, San Francisco 49ers.
right.
I feel like, but that's a lot of things that
Oh, for
I
sure.
don't know
I mean,
whoever
and it's one of those
discovered
things
all
like,
this had to figure this out. Like,
right.
you probably should get a life if you were able. Maybe it was like some genius numbers guy and it just popped in. I don't know, but
I mean, it's one of those things. I think like if you go looking for dirt, you'll find dirt. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
but I don't know. I still think it's just fun. It's interesting, and I mean, I'm with you. Whoever actually managed to figure all these out, and in all honesty, it could have started with just a few, and then like a couple of people here or there was like, also, like
Yeah,
like, oh, if
yeah,
you didn't
true.
know, 49ers 4 plus 9, it was like, oh man, that's also 13, and it just kind of keeps snowballing from here. So in all honesty, between now and the end of the week, when we get closer to the Super Bowl, we might even have a few
Find more.
more that pop up that are like, oh man, more 13s. So I mean, feel free to comment the 13s that we might have missed that are, predict.
Yeah,
But I might just have to take the over on this one.
yeah. No, for speaking of that, how many bets do you think are going to involve Taylor Swift? Because Super Bowl, they always have all these crazy, like, legit
Like
Vegas
all the crazy
bets.
prop bets and
Yeah, like, will the national anthem last this long? A certain over under on how long it'll
yeah, the one I
last.
just saw that blew me away for the Super Bowl this year. Number of Jets in the flyover, 4.5.
See, and then you think it was like, well, it's five, right? And then I'm thinking, like, do they use different numbers normally? I don't.
I mean, sometimes it's different. I think in all honesty, normally it's like 5 or 6. Um, in my opinion or
That feels
whatever.
like a
But there
that feels
have
like a
been
trap
times where
bet.
they only do like 3 or 4. Um, and I mean, 4 is obviously under. It's like just under, but it's under.
Yeah,
So
that feels like a trap bet.
it
I
was like
guess.
the right line, I thought, because I just happened to
Yeah, it'd be
kind
like
of
how many?
Google it, and I was like, well, how many have been in the flyovers over the
Yeah,
last? And it's a pretty solid mix of like 3, 4, 6, 6. There's a lot of sixes in there.
interesting.
But
A
yeah, it
whole
was.
nother
But that one
conspiracy
got me
theory
too. But
there.
honestly, I would think that there would be at least like a how many times do they show Taylor Swift on screen?
Yeah, that one
But I'm
has to
also
be
not
one
sure
because
necessarily like how they
what's
count
funny
that.
is
Like,
is people complain like, I just want to watch the game, blah blah blah, which it's whatever. And they did. I can't remember who did it. Was it like very official. I took their word for it. It could be wrong, but it was a pretty significant source from it. So I believe it was right. But on average, Taylor Swift is only shown on camera 30 seconds a game.
Hmm.
Which I guess if you think about it, where's she going to be shown for 5 seconds at a time? So that's still 6 times. So like I get it doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. What do you? It doesn't.
No, I mean they cut away to fans and stuff all the time,
It just happens to be
including
Taylor
like the
Swift. I
family
mean,
members of players and things like
yeah,
that.
I
This just
get
happens to be
it.
Taylor
Like if
Swift.
they're not going to turn towards people that like who the hell is that? Like they always turn to if at Cowboys games, George W. Bush is there. They're going to turn to him, and they always turn to those people. And I bet you they're going to show a ton of celebrities in the Super Bowl. When it was in L.A. a couple of years ago, they're going to show like, oh look, we're in Los Angeles. Look, it was all at the Super Bowl. I get it's kind of annoying when, especially if you're not a Chiefs fan, is every time Travis Kelce does something great, they're going to show Taylor Swift celebrating.
Sure.
But I. Calm down, people. It's fine. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce fan. It doesn't bother me, but I think you're looking for something to bother you if that's what it is. Because let's say there's a minute long total that Taylor Swift is on screen. Something has to be on screen for that minute. Would you rather watch Mahomes celebrating, a random Chiefs fan celebrating? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, in all honesty, I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend, a little sidetrack, I guess. But I was like, I think it takes a really secure kind of guy like Travis Kelce, I guess, or at least what I think he is,
Yeah.
to like date somebody like Taylor Swift. Because the reality is like she overshadows him no matter what. It's like if he scores a touchdown, they're gonna look at Taylor Swift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like as much as they're like, oh, Travis Kelce, and as great as he's playing and everything, they will always look to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you can see
who
like
she is and
how
it's like,
how much more popular it is. Tony's daughter just wanted a Travis Kelce jersey. She didn't even know what team he played for. She's like, I know that's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. The amount of money that is supposed that she's brought to the Chiefs, Travis Kelce's jersey sales.
She also launched that girl's fashion career. She made that jacket or whatever for the other football player's wife. I can't.
Yeah, and Jason Kelce's daughter, who's like 3 or 4, she's signed to a singing deal or something. Not that Travis Kelce's not pointing to her in any ways. I mean, we're talking about Taylor Swift on a sports podcast. Right, not that this is moving her numbers at all. Shout out Taylor Swift if you're listening, whatever.
Right.
Maybe with Roger Goodell. But yeah, for sure, she has definitely moved the needle for Travis more than the other way around because he's.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean in a bad way or anything.
No,
I'm just saying, like, she's
that's
obviously
definitely
just
a secure
bigger
thing.
star.
That's something in our, instincts that, when your wife makes more money than you or whatever, that you shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, and I'm all for it. People will tell you should care more about this or not, and I'm like, do whatever you want. Who cares what you care about? If it doesn't bother him, I mean, I don't know that he expected when he shoot his shot, whatever, towards her, that he would expect it to be serious. But I mean, he knew what he was getting into.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty serious now.
Good for him. Hope he's happy. Hope she's happy.
It's not
whatever.
Like it's not like he's hurting either. I mean, he's a multimillionaire. Like
for sure.
It would be one thing if you
million,
were a bum and your wife made a bunch of money, but just because she makes significantly more than him doesn't. I mean, they might be a new power couple.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Future.
He's been in the league 10 years. I mean, he's had a great career. I mean, previewed some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, but I mean, he just had kind of his worst season since his sophomore year. Sub 1,000 receiving yards and only 5 touchdowns. But I mean, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? He's got
no doubt,
multiple Super Bowls.
Rumors of him retiring Mahomes, if they win the Super Bowl, like he's going regardless.
He's in the conversation when you talk about top tight ends. I mean, there's no way. So I mean, good on him, and he's playing well, and we'll see what happens for them come this weekend, and Taylor Swift, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick, and then we'll talk about a couple of quarterbacks because we've been on a streak lately where we talk about possible moves in the offseason for the NFL. And right after our show premieres, those are answered, which, is what it is. At least
Right.
it's not before. And, at this point, they might already be decided by the time we post the show. But a couple of
Yeah, what
quarterbacks
was
you're
it
looking.
last week? Dan Quinn went
Dan
to
Quinn with
Washington
Washington.
the
Uh,
day after.
yeah, right after. Yeah, the
Next
day after
day.
our show. Um, so let's see if we can get some money for a couple of quarterbacks. I know you had some notes down that you want to talk about some relatively high profile quarterbacks. I mean, it's not Patrick Mahomes, but uh,
Right.
yeah, quarterbacks that mean a lot to their franchises right now that could be making a lot of money or not. I mean, they'll probably make a lot of money one way or the other, but are they going to get extensions, re-signed, one possible trade that we were talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. I guess the first one we can kind of kick off with Baker Mayfield was pretty open at the Pro Bowl and everything about wanting to re-sign with the Bucks and
Yeah,
everything. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but so Baker Mayfield coming off that 1 year deal that he signed with Tampa Bay, which was incentive heavy, like very incentive heavy, and coming off the season and everything, Mayfield made like $4 million in incentives,
yeah.
being like what he had to play like a certain percentage of offensive snaps. He totally
Yeah.
did that. He had to come in at like a top 10 quarterback in passing yards, which he did. I think he had to come in with like top 10 touchdown passes, which he did. Um, just crazy amount of money that he made in his incentives. And honestly, good on him, like way to like bet on yourself and then make it happen, like,
Yeah.
um, so honestly, I would be surprised if Tampa Bay didn't re-sign him to something. I'm thinking something like a 3 year, $80 million type contract, um, possibly more incentives, that kind of deal. But I mean, it seems like he's earned it. I mean, he took a Tampa Bay team that was expecting to not do anything. I think they
Yeah.
were completely fine with bringing in Baker Mayfield and like missing the playoffs, and that
Mm-hmm.
was just not the case this year. I mean, they went to the playoffs. I think they lost that first round, but
No, they beat the Eagles, so they lost to the
no, that's
Lions.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
They beat the Eagles and then they lost. So I mean, even getting the playoff win is a big deal, and you got that out of Baker Mayfield. I mean, I feel like you got a good building block in Mayfield. I think he deserves. I mean, at least like a 2 year. I'm thinking 3 year though, and you can probably do like a lower guaranteed amount.
Yeah, and pretty close, pretty similar to what happened with Geno Smith. Kind of, he just has one good year and then
Yeah, kind of.
he gets paid a lot. But the thing with Baker though is like he's shown he can be successful, like very successful. He played, had a lot of good years with the Browns. Whereas Geno Smith, he never really had great years. He just kind of chugged along as a backup quarterback, kind of a bust, and then had a great year for the Seahawks. So I think you're right on with that 3 year, 80 million, something around that. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd made more. Um, Somebody's going to pay him if the Bucks don't. I'd be surprised if the Bucks don't, because that's kind of what you just do in football. Overpay. It'd probably be more than he's worth. Like I don't know that Baker Mayfield can duplicate the season again and again. Um, but
Yeah, that's what makes
he's
me kind of
proven he
nervous
can do
about
it.
offering him anything more than 3 years. I think is just because kind of like what you said. It could be a very like Geno Smith type situation where like I mean Geno's had like a couple of good seasons in there. He's also had some like really bad pedestrian
Yeah.
seasons that just were not very helpful for his team. In the any instance.
Yeah. And
Um,
Tampa's not in a position where they're expecting to win a Super Bowl, so it's not like hey, we'll just pay him. Hopefully, something comes out of it. If it doesn't, it's not like we ruined this window we had to win a Super Bowl or anything. I think he'll stay with the Bucks also.
yeah. Similar situation. I got Kirk Cousins with the
Yeah.
Vikings. I like Kirk Cousins.
He's a safe quarterback.
Yeah. And honestly, I think he likes it in Minnesota. I think Minnesota likes him. Obviously he didn't really have the season they were hoping for this year.
Yeah.
Coming off a pretty heartbreaking season
Well,
the year
what's
before.
going for him though, what he has going for him though is he got hurt and the team just couldn't put. I know they won a few games, but it was like their quarterback play was
Yeah.
subpar. They try to get a different couple of quarterbacks, and I think that puts it in Minnesota's mind that without Kirk Cousins, like you'll probably win 9, 10
Yeah. You're starting
games.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know that you have a great chance to win the Super Bowl, but you know, in that division where, I mean, that's a competitive division now. Where the Lions just won,
It
they
is.
seem to be good, going to be good for a while because they have a lot of cap space. The Packers came out of nowhere now, and Jordan Love seems like the quarterback of the future. Uh, I know we'll talk about the Bears here in a minute, but you have a choice to make. Like, do you want to start over because that's two teams that are probably going to be on the up for the next decade,
Yeah.
and I can understand you thinking I don't think Kirk Cousins is the guy, but I mean,
He's not the guy.
yeah, he's not the guy. And I don't think you had a bad enough season to really draft the guy where he's shown that he can be really good, and maybe you can slip in and win 11 games a season, make a wild card,
Yeah.
make it a
Well, and not
wild card
only
spot.
that, but I got Kirk Cousins under kind of a similar thing as Baker Mayfield. I got him for like a 2 year, 80 million deal. But the reality is like you could bring back Kirk Cousins. He's, for lack of a better term, good enough, and you could focus your draft on getting guys to like help him out. Like help solidify that O line a little bit. Maybe get yourself another young receiver or something like that. Maybe even help out your defense or something. But you could definitely spend those draft picks on something more valuable to you and your team than a quarterback.
Yeah,
And it's always going to be tough to bring in a rookie quarterback and expect them to win in the NFL anyway. So I think it would be much better for the Vikings to just sign Kirk Cousins to like a short 2 year deal. Honestly, I mean, maybe you even get him to do a 1 year deal. I'm not sure he would go for that.
yeah,
I'm sure other teams would offer him two or three. Um, so if you're the Vikings and you're trying to play it safe here, I think 2 years is probably the way to go. But you're going to pay it. You're going to pay him. But that'll send us over to the Bears, where I think they ought to just trade Justin Fields. Like
yeah.
this is a player. This is a guy that's just not working out the way you wanted him to. I don't know if he's necessarily like not an NFL quarterback, um, but I
Maybe
feel like
just
you
in
could.
a rough situation, a bad situation in Chicago.
Yeah, honestly, I'm almost tempted to see like maybe you send him to Vegas. Maybe you trade him to the Raiders for a couple of picks. They got a second and a seventh round pick this year. They could
Yeah,
probably trade for Fields, and that would help them with their Jimmy G situation. You could maybe even
yeah. I think
trade Jimmy G.
Fields has a future in the NFL. I mean, he's shown
Yeah, I
little
almost
flashes.
agree.
He's shown little flashes. I think you can get some value from him. Obviously, not what you're not going to get your draft pick back or
Sure.
anything close to that value. But I mean, uh, you're about to the point where you have to pay him, and I know you're
Yeah.
saying, well, he hadn't done all that much for you, but what if he has a pretty decent year this year? Then you're like, well, damn, is this him? And now you have a big contract year. I mean, do we want to pay him now? Are we going to make that mistake, or possibly
Yeah.
make that mistake? I think trading him if you can get the right, I wouldn't even say a haul for him because you're probably not getting more than a couple of picks anyways.
Yeah.
But trading him might be their best scenario right now. Now that I mean, they're rebuilding, and again in a same division, the NFC North, where you're clearly far behind the other three teams.
Yeah. No,
And
the Bears and the Browns for like the last 5 years, it feels like, have just always been in this kind of building scenario. Unfortunately, it felt like like this was going to be the years that the Bears had kind of figured it out and put it together, and they were going to finally have like that team that they were ready to, start sending to the playoffs and everything. And I guess, Justin Fields just didn't quite pan out. I'm with you. I don't necessarily feel like I'm ready to say he's a bust just yet.
Yeah.
I think he's got a place in the NFL, maybe not with the Bears. Um, I'm almost thinking he needs a different offensive coordinator. He needs somebody to fit his style a little bit better. But I mean, this is the NFL, man, and there are new players coming in every year, and
Yeah,
if you're just not kind of
you have to
up
do
to
what
snuff,
Baker
like,
Mayfield did and just kind of he went
yeah,
to Carolina, nothing. Went to LA. He had one good game in LA. He did win in LA a
yeah.
game, but it's like eventually he found his spot and it worked. Eh, um
But I mean, not every player is like that fortunate. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean, the
Justin Fields
average,
has an arm. He can run. It
yeah.
like you're right. You have to find the right spot for him, maybe the right offensive coordinator. Um Washington could be a good spot because they need a quarterback. I don't know if that's. I mean, they're
I mean,
probably better off drafting a quarterback. But if you use those high picks to draft
if we're
around
going to
it,
talk
maybe
about one, what do you think about the Broncos?
that could be. Yeah, because Sean Payton's not
Right, Sean
going to sit
Payton's
down and rebuild it. I mean, say that go 2-3 years rebuilding, or he doesn't want to choose that option.
no,
He's
and he's
definitely
ready
going to
to
be
get rid
looking
of
for a
Wilson.
quarterback. Yeah. Um,
So I mean, I don't feel like that would be a terrible landing spot for him, based on his play style and everything. And I mean, Sean Payton's also got
yeah,
like a little bit of,
similar to Russell Wilson. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, Sean Payton's got a pretty good history with kind of raising quarterbacks, like,
Yeah.
and getting some good out of them. I mean, as much as I kind of like Drew Brees and everything, he was a shorter guy. It was tougher for him, and I think Sean Payton helped him with that, um, and being successful. Once he came to New Orleans, it was
Yeah.
not as easy going before, with was it Chargers he was with first, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Drew Brees. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't terrible with the Chargers,
I
but
mean, he
yeah,
wasn't terrible,
it
but
just wasn't working. He wasn't Drew
it wasn't
Brees.
quite his potential. Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was just, needed to be in a better scheme and surrounded by the right players and coaches and that kind of thing. So I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, there's also, I just got a few guys written down here. We can finish up real quick. I got Mac Jones with the Patriots. I can probably let him go. Taylor Hinkie with the Falcons. I think
Yeah.
he can definitely be let go. And I don't know what Zach Wilson is still doing with the Jets. So just
Um.
a few landing spots for possible trades for
Yeah.
Fields.
What Wilson has going for him is he's only struggled and struck out with one team. Somebody's gonna give him a chance. You're thinking, hey, and overall, what was he like? Number 2 pick, something like. It was a very high pick.
Yeah, yeah,
Um. That that might be a landing spot going to Denver or something. I don't know, but Heineke has shown success. I think he won't have trouble finding a backup role somewhere because, uh,
yeah. A number two role for
yeah,
sure,
number
but
two role
I don't
where
see
your
him
guy goes
starting
down,
anywhere.
your starter goes down, he can carry you a couple of games. What was the first quarterback you mentioned? Oh, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
He'll get a spot somewhere just
I
because
don't
he's
know,
so
man.
young, but he hasn't
Yeah,
shown any
he'll get another
success.
shot, but
Yeah, he hasn't
no,
shown
he
any
hasn't.
success in the NFL to like where
No,
you're
he
like,
just
oh,
doesn't seem to get the flow for some reason. Like between him and Zappy, I would almost rather put in Zappy. He's got a little more kind of
yeah,
flow and understanding for the movement of the game. Mac Jones just seems to. It seems like he gets hitched up a bit in plays and stuff, and he kind of misses his reads or misreads or something like that. It doesn't feel like it's been working for him in in New England. And to be honest, I think that's been a big part of why, Belichick has taken so much flack
yeah,
the last couple of years, is just because they haven't really been able to find like that right general to put, in the quarterback position to run that offense, and that makes it difficult. I mean, Tom Brady's no replaceable player. Like even Tampa Bay thought they TB12, but Baker Mayfield, you get a little lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Zach Wilson's been, you've seen him have success, but Mac Jones none. Like maybe somebody helps him, picks him up just because you're like, well, he's had success in college. Like he's competent. Maybe you can change the scenery or something like that. Um, yeah, I think Zach Wilson's probably in a better position right now than Mac Jones.
yeah, I would agree with that. But gonna be tough for Zach Wilson too, just because. I mean, honestly, Zach Wilson strikes me as a young quarterback who is like afraid of his own shadow.
Yeah,
He gets he gets real nervous back there after the snap, and just doesn't seem to make good decisions. And I mean it's tough out there. I'm not trying to, you know, say being an NFL quarterback for any team is an easy gig, but
yeah,
some guys are built for it, some guys just aren't. And it feels like he. I don't know if it's necessarily that he just gets scared or nervous, or if he just can't think in the moment or whatever it is, but it just he seems to struggle too. Similar, in my opinion, similarly to Mac Jones, but he's had. I agree with you. He's had more success than Mac Jones has had, so it'll be easier for him to get a second chance or at least a backup spot somewhere than it will be for Jones. But we're definitely in for some interesting moves in the offseason.
yeah.
Just kind of
And
speculating everything.
I suspect we're not going to get any answers to these in the next few days because usually
Obviously.
people kind of back up on Super Bowl week and try not to make a bunch of headlines. But yeah, we're definitely in the coming weeks are going to dig deeper in some of these possible quarterback contracts and whether they're changing teams or not. But guys, that will do it um, for the sports page today. So don't forget to tune in to our Super Bowl pregame show on Sunday live at 3:30. See all of us on there, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow on whatever podcast platform you listen. See you later, guys.
Bye.